Welcome to the moving series. Today we are going to be looking at apartments in Melbourne. Currently, Australia's housing market isn't exactly in the best situation, and especially for renters, it's even more difficult because the demand is way more than supply. And as students, when you're in competition with people who are settled and have a lot more to show for, have a stronger profile, it can be even more difficult. So that was the reason that I started looking at apartments 1.5 months before I was supposed to move. My moving date was 29th January, but I started looking at apartments somewhere in the middle of December. Also, because it was going to be Christmas week, so everything shut down then, and we would be losing precious time, right? And there are no inspections during Christmas. So, if this is the time when you're moving, which actually is a case for a lot of people, then tough luck, you'll have to start earlier. And then there are high chances of you having to pay rent for around 2 weeks at two places. But that is where the situation is at right now. So I'll share all the apartments I toured with price, location, amenities, everything. Mostly, we looked at places in South Bank. We were moving out of CBD because even though we had a good enough budget, I actually can't see the suns directly in my eye. So I didn't want to pay rent into places, because it gets really expensive. But I sort of had no choice. Let's start with the first apartment. This first apartment was in South Bank. I actually saw another apartment in this building and I loved it, loved the layout. Because of the layout, the apartment didn't seem very small. It was all windows, and in the pictures, it had these heavy curtains, so it looked pretty. But that was gone by the time we were ready for inspections. So we checked if there were apartments available in the same building. We found one. That was the first apartment we looked at. But this one had a different layout. Like when I reached for the inspection, there were a lot of people waiting. And this made me panic because I started to think, how was I going to get an apartment with a lot of people there, and was this going to be the scene everywhere? As soon as I entered the place, I didn't like it instantly because the kitchen was dirty, and that's actually a big deal. Plus, it was my deal breaker. The kitchen protruded out of the wall, so that made it seem unfinished, and also it was very small. The previous tenants were in the process of moving, so it was cluttered, it was a mess, which already made me not like the apartment. So I don't have a lot of footage for this place because people were living here. So let's talk about the pros and cons of this place. The whole house had windows. That was a non negotiable that we had, so I was okay with that. When I was standing near the window, I could feel really hot because the sun was direct, and I didn't know if I really liked that, especially when the room was super tiny. So, window was the only positive for me in this place. Negatives and deal breaker for me would be the kitchen because it was small and it was directly at the entry, and it just didn't feel nice, and the layout itself wasn't that special. The view wasn't that great either. It had a highway view, but it wasn't the pretty kind of highway view. When the highway is farther away, you can have a really nice view of cars passing by, but when it's really close, it's not that good. Especially when you get out of the building, you can hear the traffic a lot, you can hear vehicles moving, and near highways, it's going to be super dusty all the time. And I was really disappointed because I didn't like this place. We just went to eat and it started raining, so I started feeling better. Then, either the next day or the day after that, we had two inspections booked. It was near this place, but in a better area, sort of. It was more residential than highway. The first place we went to, I immediately liked it. It was spacious, it had a big bathroom. The bathroom also had washer that you would be getting with the apartment. Also, I loved the second bedroom, the way there was an alcove for the bed, but it didn't have a window. This was also a two-bedroom apartment in a fairly new building, and everything seemed really modern. As soon as you get into the house, it was a really good feeling about the place. The layout was simple, it was just a simple boxy layout. I like that there were windows in a bedroom and the living room, but the second room didn't have any windows, and that sort of wasn't exactly what we were looking for, especially the view. It was looking directly at a building in front of us, and we could see into their homes, meaning they could see into ours as well. So cons, I would say the kitchen was a big con for me because of the two-sided counter space. It seemed like it was big, but it wasn't. When I entered, I felt really claustrophobic, especially since the stove was really at a corner and it was a tight space. So if you're cooking a lot, it's not exactly going to feel nice. So that wasn't exactly a good thing, but I was still ready to, sort of adjust with the kitchen if we liked it. So this place also had a car park that you could rent out because we don't own a car. It's sort of stupid to have a car in city because driving's a mess, and it's easier and cheaper and free to use trams. This place was listed for $520 and it had a car park, meaning if we were to rent it out for $50, we would be at $480 for the rent price. So that was one of the reasons we considered this place. We also applied for this. We offered 525 or 530, I guess, like $5 or $10 over the asking price because it felt like it would go soon and we wanted it to be in our favor, especially had a car park that we could rent out, meaning we could save more on our rent. Then we had another inspection booked, but we had like an hour between the two inspections, so we went to McDonald's there. Oh my god, the McDonald's, it was the worst that I have seen. It sort of felt like outside, even though it was sort of inside, and there were a lot of pigeons. I don't know where they were coming from, and they were walking on the tables, and one of them sat on the table, and they were eating whatever people were dropping. They weren't scared. I just got a drink, blue drink, that just turned my tongue blue. But still, that was really dirty. Then we went to the second inspection. There was no one there. We were the only one. So this place was listed as 1 bedroom, 1 study. So you would think there's a separate study room, right? It's not. This one just had a study table built in between the bathroom and the bedroom. It was nice. It was a new building, so we would be the first ones to live in that apartment. It came with a washer and dryer. This was on the same lane as the earlier one we saw, and the view obviously wasn't as good. So 1 bedroom flat wasn't anyway what we were looking for. They also had a 2 bedroom apartment to see, but we didn't check it because the rent for this 2 bedroom apartment was $650 per week, and it was definitely out of our budget, so it didn't make sense to check it out. The agent showed us the amenities, and this was the first building we saw the amenities for, and that sort of, was the tipping point. And I sort of considered maybe like we could make it work. It's spacious. We could maybe make it work. They had a really cool lounge area. There was a swimming pool. There was a sauna. There was a gym. There was a barbecue area. There was also a movie theater that you could book. So that sort of sold me. But we didn't apply for this because like nothing matched our criteria. The kitchen was nice. Other than that, nothing else matched what we were looking for. We had seen 3 apartments and sort of started panicking, and that is why I applied for the second one with $5-10 over the asking price. But and I was like, I did want to still live in CBD because I wanted to be near my uni. So we've booked a viewing at one of the places that was near Victoria Market. That is where I get off and then walk to my uni so that I can still be in the free tram zone and not have to pay for trams. So this was actually not good. This had the worst view because you could see literally inside the building in front of you, and that was the whole view. A building right in front of you, and it was an office building, meaning there would always be people and they wouldn't be shutting their curtains because they don't care. So they could always look into my house, and I would have to keep my curtains closed at all times. And that wasn't what I was looking for. The kitchen was red, and the house didn't have a good layout. It was an old apartment. It just didn't feel nice. It didn't feel right, even though it was near uni. It didn't work out. And that was the reason we weren't looking at apartments in CBD, because a lot of apartments are older and are more expensive. Especially now, since the housing market is in crisis, it didn't make sense. Even though we had sort of doubled our budget from the previous rent that we were paying, we still had to, like, if we were looking 3-4 months prior to this, we would have gotten what we were looking for in CBD. But like newer apartments and everything, it's really expensive right now. And also South Bank is really peaceful. You get all the amenities of big city, but also the peace of suburbs, so it's sort of a good middle ground. So after a day or two, we had another inspection booked. We had 2 inspections booked. So for the first apartment, it was sort of across the very first apartment that we saw. We couldn't find it. It was difficult to get to, and we kept calling the agents and no one answered. So when we went there, the concierge was like, yeah, they are still up. I'll let you go up and then you can check. So he keyed the lift and we went there. We knocked on the door. There was no one there. We came back down and he said, yeah, I just talked to her. They left. So we didn't see that place. Now for the second place, we had like, I don't know, 45 minutes or 1 hour. So we thought we would eat because we were really hungry. We saw this place that looked really good. It took a little while for the food to come out, so we had to gorge the food down within 5 minutes and rush out. We were 5 to 10 minutes late, and I was panicking a bit because we really liked this place. When we saw it online, my roommate fell in love with it and applied for it before we even saw it, and that was it. So I sort of knew that this was the apartment that we would get. They did say that we'll have to come to inspection first. They can't consider the application otherwise. I think they were already done with inspections because everyone was coming out, but the agent was there. So it was I and my roommate and 2 other guys, and we went to see the flat. I had already seen it online and my roommate had already applied for it. So, I wasn't that excited about looking at the flat. I just looked at the view and I said, I don't like it because there's a building right opposite us, even though there's a really good view, but it's sort of blocked by 2 buildings on 2 sides. So the view's in the middle, and I was like, I don't like it. I don't like the view. I like the house. It's a 2-bedroom flat, good spacious bathroom. You would get washer dryer. Then when we came down, a girl was waiting for inspections. So there was another flat available, like 29th floor, I guess. So we went to check that one. That one, I guess, was 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. So it was even more expensive, but I really liked the kitchen because it was a corner kitchen or L-shaped kitchen. So it was a bit bigger than the first kitchen, but the view was worse because you were on a lower floor. And also it was expensive. Then we asked them to show us the amenities. So this place had swimming pool, barbecue area, lounge room. It wasn't as good as the one that we saw for the 1-bedroom, 1-study apartment. But this one didn't have a movie room. But other than that, it was all good. We saw the gym as well. Then we got out, explored a bit, went to a Woolworths because I had a $30 gift card from like 6 months ago, and I hadn't been to Woolworths even once. So we just checked it out. It was nice. I think it was one of the nicest Woolworths here. Then we came home. That was it. So let's take a stock of all of the things that happened. So we went for inspection at 6 places. One we couldn't get into because no one answered our call, couldn't find the place. Out of the 5 places in one building, we saw 2 apartments, so it's still 6 apartments. We applied for two. The one that my roommate already applied for, that was for $550. And the one that we offered $510 over our budget. So the place that we applied for, this place, they didn't have many inspections. The one that we had, and there was going to be one more, I guess. And they emailed us that that would be the final inspections.